Welcome to the Real Talk Weekly podcast, where we discuss news, culture, life, and dive into deep conversations about our faith. Here's your host, Alan Reed.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Talk podcast. I'm Alan Reed, host of the show, and
You're way too excited.
Hi, I'm Alan Reed. I'm the host of the show.
Take two.
We're going on. Go
Yeah,
on.
that
Keep
one's
going.
funny.
Nope.
Yep, we're going on.
Take 50.
All
that's
right,
our
we're
shitty
just going to do
today.
it. Okay, we have the whole team here.
We here.
Yo.
James.
We
the
I remember
outro.
my name this week.
David and Allie.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't know what it is. about
Allie's
you
just
today.
losing it today.
Theatrics, the hands.
It's like,
Alan's like, what?
Oh.
Alan,
Okay,
remember the time Alan forgot we were on video and stood up and
And
faced
just-
away
I
from
didn't
the
No,
camera?
he knew we were on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew.
Good trying to save him. But
Oh, he
knew.
knew.
I was trying to do something new, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that there's no camera over there.
trying
I
something new.
actually had another idea today, but I'm like, there's no. We need a microphone right in front of the camera,
So you can walk over there.
so I can walk over there and talk to the camera.
You mean
In the
this
eyes.
microphone right up here that no one can see?
I need one over
Can
here.
they not? Are you sure they can't see it?
Yeah, they
Let's
can't
talk about
see
the topics.
Okay.
What's our dishes for today? Dave, what's your dish?
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah, don't call me Dave. My name's not Dave.
Dave, you're
Buddy.
Dave.
What's your dish,
David, I do
Dave?
that. I shorten words or shorten names and lengthen them.
Anyways, my dish
What would you
is-
lengthen his name to?
Well, if he was David, it'd be David.
He is David.
But it's David.
Oh my
so what would you
gosh,
lengthen his
I'm
name
just
to?
trying to
I'm
go
just
on
saying
with the
that's
show
an example
here.
of
Like
lengthening.
Davey Wavy.
Davidian.
I'm going on with the show.
Yes, going with the show.
My dish,
The show must go on.
as a snippet, is the Ice Bucket Challenge actually did something. There you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at
Update
that.
on the
Would you
Ice
look
Bucket
at
Challenge.
that?
All right, Allie,
I'm talking about dogs and stress. Two of my favorite topics.
dogs are amazing.
It's definitely rough.
Yep.
Hey, rough day.
Oh, yes.
Rough.
Look at that. The puns are going. Carson loves puns. That's what I think of him.
That was for you, Carson.
All right.
I'm just going to read you a quote from mine, and then we'll get to it later. I mean, look at this thing. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn.
It's good.
Yes. And then we're going to be ending it with our deep dish, quiet quitting. This is actually one of James's articles from last week. And I'm like, don't share that one. That's a good one. That's a
I'm
good
very
one.
passionate
Don't
about
share
this
it. It's
subject.
good.
So, yeah, it'll be good. But first, we need
He
to
really
warm up.
liked it. It was really good.
Even though this is like our second recording the same day, we're just wearing different shirts.
Wow.
Tell the
Yeah.
people.
All right, so now from now
that's the
on, when we
reality.
do 2 episodes on
Hey.
the same day, we don't need to worry about changing shirts
Yeah.
because apparently we're
It's
not going to
just
keep
a
it secret.
little behind the scenes here. We just changed shirts here.
Oh my
but here we
gosh.
go.
Psych. Got you all.
Allie is so disappointed in you right now. She's already like, I can't believe
I
you just said
literally
that.
scheduled so many email reminders.
Yes, you did.
Fine.
You
And
did.
you ruined it.
One came out on Tuesday.
Yeah. She said,
Thursday
don't
and
forget.
I'm not
This
going to
morning.
remember between Tuesday and Thursday.
That's why I sent multiple.
So the icebreaker is what?
Shindy.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
I think James should go first because his is pretty bad.
It's really bad.
So we were talking about this before we started recording, and I said, I worked at McDonald's for 4 hours. And David's like, well, I worked at Walmart for 2 years. I was like, no, I think you need to rehear what I said. I worked at McDonald's for 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got
Like
fired?
not 4 hours in one day, just a total of 4 hours. No, I didn't get fired. I just never came back.
Yeah,
Worst
speaking of
employee.
quiet quitting.
Let's hear it from the other side.
Yeah.
So, you're
McDonald's?
16 and you
put it
need to
on
find a
your
job.
resume?
And it's like, what's the easiest place to get a job? It's McDonald's, right? So it's like, all right, everybody works at McDonald's.
Wow. Put
And
everyone
so
down.
I
McDonald's. Sorry.
could not do it. I went in there and I was like, this is gross.
Was it gross?
Like, I mean, just the floors were like greasy and
Slip and slide.
everything
and the
you
food
had to do.
was also.
Well, and I
greasy.
still eat there, but like,
Well, this was back in the 50s, so
Got him. Everything was still homemade back then. Were you on skates or no?
pardon me, that's Sonic. They didn't have car
I don't
hops
know.
at
I wasn't
McDonald's.
alive. McDonald's.
Anyway, no, I feel my feelings are really hurt right now.
you'll get over
No,
it.
I went and it was like,
In 4
your first
hours.
day, they have you do all these training videos about, I don't know if they still do this. This was 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago.
Pop that
But
VHS in and
so, yeah, pretty much. And it was like, this is really terrible. And I said, I can't do it. I can't go back to this place. It's awful. Because they have you start on your first day with like cleaning out the grease fats and trying to scrape the grease off the floor. And I mean, it was just absolutely terrible.
they're just trying to weed out the people that weren't
the weak
in
people.
it, you know.
And I was not in it. And
Yeah.
so, but the second job that I got, which was literally like 3 days later because I just was not going to go back to McDonald's. So for you, those of you that don't know, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri metro area, and we were right on the border. I was on the Missouri side. The Kansas side is literally 5 minutes away, and so it's not a far drive to get to another state. So a lot of my friends were like, yeah, we work at grocery stores. We just bag groceries and do all this kind of stuff. And it's, you make minimum wage. Back then it was like, what, $4 an hour, $7. That was like $4.50 or something like that.
Yep.
And so I got a job across the state line doing the exact same job as my friends on the Missouri side, and I was getting paid $3 an hour more.
Ooh.
Because it was in a ritzy neighborhood area of the Kansas side, so they had to pay high school students more to work there.
What grocery store was it?
It was called Hen House.
Never heard of her.
Which, have you heard of Price Chopper in Kansas City? Price Chopper and Hen House are just chains. And it was a company that owned some Price Choppers and Hen Houses. Hen Houses is the more upscale grocery store.
The bougie one.
It's the bougie one.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
It was the grocery store that was in the neighborhood where Joe Montana lived whenever he played for the Chiefs.
Joe Montana.
That's someone entirely different.
That is definitely someone different.
McDonald's would be a tough place to work at.
I just couldn't.
admit.
I mean,
It just
kudos to
smells
all
You
these
can't
people.
help but love their fries.
And here's the thing.
Yes,
Like,
you
I
can.
believe,
You
I
can
know I'm
help it.
taking up a lot of time for my part of this, but I believe everyone should have to have an experience where they've worked in retail in some fashion. Because here's the thing. When I go to McDonald's, I don't treat those people poorly because I understand the conditions they work in.
Yep.
Yep,
It's like, listen, I get frustrated when my order's wrong, but I also am like, thank you for, and like, I'm polite and nice because I know what they're doing and I get it. And so I'm
People
like,
can be rude to you.
yeah. And I'm like, but any retail, like someone should have to work in retail at some point in their life before they ever make it to the real world, quote unquote, if they don't want retail to be their like career path because anyway.
I worked in retail.
I don't think I did.
I got a job at
shows.
Walmart in high school.
Yeah. How was that?
It sucked.
Were you the buggy boy?
Yeah, I called myself
Just
the
bug boy.
the cart shepherd.
The cart.
I
Oh,
would
you
shepherd
would.
my carts.
The great cart shepherd?
yeah.
Back then, did they have those automatic things that you could just push a button?
Yeah, but half of the time it was broken.
Yeah, when I worked in the grocery store, we had to push them by hand.
Oh yeah, I did too. We had to use like a bungee strap and strap it to the front, and then you either pull it or push it.
Which
and
Walmart?
redirect it.
Bentonville?
Yep, store 100.
We didn't even have the bungee
I always
straps.
felt bad for you guys when it was raining outside.
Well, the unfortunate thing was I started working, and I think it was in the spring, and then that summer they repaved the parking lot with blacktop.
Oh, so it was really hot.
So it was like 115
smelled bad.
degrees constantly. But yeah, that job was character building for sure.
did it change the way that you shop at Walmart?
Yes, because now I constantly go around and pick up other people's carts that are in the parking lot.
That's where I was going with it.
And I worked at Sam's in college, and I was in grocery, so I would do all the zoning and stuff for the items. So every time we go to Sam's, Lauren gets frustrated because I'm over there getting the boxes and moving everything to the front, and she's like, "This is not your job." I'm like, I did this for a living. I need to do it again.
High
At
school
least
living.
you had a bungee. Back in my day, we had to push the shopping carts uphill and downhill through
Well,
the
we
snow.
had those guys that pushing carts that would use the automated thing, but they would put like 3 times as many carts that you're supposed to put on there,
Yeah.
and so they were constantly broken.
Yeah. Tough job. I could see why that would be bad.
It was
Allie,
it was rough.
do you have a job that you hated?
No, I like all my jobs.
Yeah.
The weirdest job I had, there were parts of a job that I really disliked. I worked at a local law office when I was in high school and then throughout my breaks in college. And because I'd worked there so often, they decided to
Let you be a lawyer,
Yeah, they
Go
just
to
let
court?
me do it.
Were you legally brunette?
not
Yes.
blonde but brunette.
Yes, legally I am brunette. So one
On
day
her driver's
they
license.
promoted me to the front desk lady.
Nice.
That's the official title.
Front
Front
desk
desk lady?
Yeah, it
Front
is.
desk lady.
'Cause she just
FDL.
left. She just up and left. And
She didn't like her job.
No,
no 2 weeks notice, no notice at all. She
she
just
loudly
Quite
quit.
She
got
just-
out of there.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use the phone, and you have to like transfer all the calls. And because it's a debt collection office, you got a lot of very frustrated people who call. And so there's like this whole spiel that you have to read because your call's recorded, blah, blah, blah. And you have to ask them for the last 4 of their
That would be a
social. And
horrible
people are
job.
always trying to
You
fight
didn't hate
me.
this job?
No, it was kind of interesting. But the very first day, I accidentally called a woman, a man on my phone. I was trying to be polite. It was questionable. It was very questionable.
Nowadays, you'd get canceled for that.
I know. I almost got
Canned.
just killed for that in general. And I had a lot of angry people who would call me directly, and I'd try to pass them on to someone else. But it was just kind of, the front door was like bulletproof glass, and I was the one who ran the emergency button under the desk. Wow. So
how many times did you want
Wait,
to
you worked at
shouldn't
a...
hate the job. That's why I'm so surprised.
It was interesting. Every day was new.
Yeah.
So you had people calling in like, I need to talk to that front desk lady.
Yeah.
That's
Give me
why
the
we
front
like Allie.
desk lady.
Positive. Can see the positive in anything.
It was fun.
So something really ironic to me is that, you hated that part of the job. Like
I didn't enjoy that at all.
You didn't enjoy that part. But yet now if people call here, guess who the first person's voice is that they hear?
Mine.
Yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's full circle.
Yeah, it is.
Very good.
Except here you're a robot.
Yeah.
I honestly don't have a job I hate either. I can think of jobs that were hard, so like I worked at a plant nursery and we worked from like 5 a.m. till.
Did you have to bottle feed them?
It was so hot. What's that?
Did you have to bottle feed them?
Funny. No. We
Listen,
dug
on our last
holes
episode-
and planted trees and
Which we determined was
hard
only 10
labor.
minutes ago.
It was hard labor.
You made dad jokes, so I'm going to make some.
Yeah.
Just put little
So
diapers on.
it was interesting job. It was fun. It was hard. I was the young guy on the team, and so
Did you retain your plant knowledge?
no, actually I didn't. Yeah, I basically know what a crepe myrtle is.
Beautiful.
We did. Yeah, people love crepe myrtles, and we.
Not
plant a
gonna
lot
lie,
of
I always
those.
thought it was great myrtle, not crepe myrtle.
Crepe myrtle. Is it? It probably is.
It's crepe.
Crepe myrtle. See, there you go. I didn't learn a thing.
You don't think
No,
it's
actually, it's grape myrtle.
grape myrtle?
It's my favorite flavor of myrtle.
Myrtle just makes me think of
Anyways,
old ladies.
yeah,
Yeah.
hard
You know,
job.
it's really great because we all really love
It's
our
really
jobs now,
Yeah.
right? Like we're all really, really love our jobs now. For any of the pastors that are listening, we know that it's review season. And so we just wanted to make sure you knew how much we loved working here
Yeah.
and how
Ben,
incredibly awesome it is.
Browning.
And Jim Shaw. And we love it. We absolutely think it's fantastic.
Speaking
right.
on all of our behalves.
Yeah.
It's time for the dish.
All right, let's dive into our dishes. I'm going to start with Allie's. I like
All
dogs.
right, then.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's about
so-
yours.
What
All
happened
right,
to you?
then. 2 recordings is too much. Okay, so rough day. Dogs can detect if people are stressed. New research shows. So it's coming out of the University of Belfast, home of my grandmama. Also home
Wait,
of
she lives at the
Titanic.
University of Belfast?
No, she was from Belfast.
Oh, okay, cool.
So was the Titanic. You know what I'm saying?
Going down.
2 major parts of history. My grandmother and the Titanic. So
Your dish is sinking quickly.
anyways, okay, so they say now that dogs, when humans are stressed, their odor profile
smell
changes.
Yeah,
which
it's called BO.
Which is so gross. I'm like, I know I smell different. It's the sweat rolling off my
Sounds
body.
like irritable bowel syndrome or something.
Hey,
Stress can.
not all of us get to have
Stress-induced
healthy digestive systems, Alan.
Yeah.
We usually call that flatulence.
There's a lot more to it than just that.
So the dogs can smell
Yes, they
Yes, they
can. They
can
know when
smell,
you're
Alan.
our
stressed.
stress.
They know. And so then I also think, you 2 are dog owners.
Yes.
Sorry, pal. But do you feel like your dog treats you differently if it can recognize whether or not you're stressed?
Yes. Like this article to me is one of these things of duh.
Yeah.
Having had a dog for so long in my life that like multiple dogs over the years, my dog knows when we're sick. My dog knows when we're stressed. My dog knows if I've got a headache because he is like, and all of our dogs have been this way. They're like, oh, we want to come make you feel better. And they get snuggly. I mean, our dogs are really snuggly anyway, but they behave differently because they know.
I even think that there is, our actions change how our dogs behave towards us too. But I kind of think this is one of those where you don't consciously, walk around all huffy puffy because you're stressed in your house, but your dog can now pick up on it. Odor profiles are fascinating to me. That like your body literally puts off a scent
Allie's going to start walking
because
around
of your
sniffing people at the
mood.
office.
Yeah.
And like animals can pick up on it. That's
Women
wild.
choose men based on their scent. That's a whole other topic.
I actually think that it's the other way around. Men choose women based off of their scent.
Oh, no. Not based on the article I read.
Oh.
I think it's both.
It probably
Odor.
goes both ways.
Yeah.
What is that called again?
Odor.
Pheromones, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Odor.
Pheromones is actually a very fascinating psychological study. But yeah. So I just thought that was cute. And I'm like, that adds up. My little baby loves me.
Dogs are
all
awesome.
the time. But
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like our dogs love us already, and it's like just such an unconditional love, representative of Christ's love for us.
Oh my gosh.
wow.
Listen, later there's going to be some Jesus juking going on. I just figured I'd start it early, but like I do like this. This is one of those studies to me. I'm like, did you really have to do a study to figure this out? Just ask any dog owner on the planet.
I mean, yes, we know that, but the fact that
nice when the
science
science
shows
backs
it,
it up.
yeah.
And it's just another reason
I
why
am the science.
dogs are better
Okay.
than cats. Everyone agree? Raise your
Yes.
hand.
Yes,
No,
dogs are better than cats.
Yes.
They are.
I don't know in between.
They can smell cancer as well.
What?
Yep. It's a different article.
Yeah.
Ran across. Pretty amazing. Good stuff. All right, James, we'll go with you next.
Oh, just look at this thing. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn. So I just want to read you the title of my article.
Wasn't that it?
No.
Oh.
That was
just
a
a quote
snippet.
from
Oh, sorry. So sorry.
So this is the title. Meet South Dakota's new Corn-bassador, a boy who recently found out that corn is real.
Who was the old Corn-bassador?
I don't know. But everything changed for 7-year-old Tarek when he slapped some butter on an ear of corn. He knew it tasted good, but butter made it better. It sounds like I'm doing a Culver's commercial.
Everything ever.
Better bread of beef makes a butter burger better.
Yep.
He knew it tasted good, but butter made it better. His passion for produce landed him a sweet gig last Saturday as South Dakota's official Corn-bassador. Some people might see corn as just a starchy vegetable, but to Tarek, it's a big, beautiful lump with knobs on it. His favorite part was the juice that comes out while he's chowing down, he told an interviewer. I mean, just look at this thing. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn.
No, you got to say it the right way. It's corn.
corn.
It's corn.
It's corn.
He's so
So his
So
profession of his love for his favorite vegetable earned him the nickname the Corn Kid after his interview racked up millions of views. And you've seen those like YouTube videos where somebody like takes a news interview and turns it into a song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Songify.
the people did this, and he was dubbed South Dakota's official Corn-bassador by the governor, who did that earlier in September. And I'm like, there's not really anything cuter than a little kid. And then the little kid who's like
Old
super
people.
excited. Like there's pictures in this article, and he's just
Dogs.
big smiles, and it's like he learned corn was real.
Which is amazing in itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Gloss
7 years
over
old.
that. Yeah.
And he didn't know corn was real. He's from New York. So
Wait.
they may not have corn in New
Yeah.
York.
I didn't realize that he had no idea.
He had no idea.
No
that
idea
it was real.
corn was real. Yeah.
Thought it
That's
was
why
maybe
it's-
just kind of like made in a factory. So, but he is cute.
He's a cute kid.
If you haven't seen any of the videos, you need to go watch a couple of videos. But just like give a time limit after about 3 or 4 minutes of it.
Yeah. Too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
it was-
cuteness.
Make
So
your
they brought him
TikTok,
in to
get
like
out.
honor him as Corn-bassador, and this is one of the cute things is like his eyes. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the palace made of corn. It's a dream come true.
I've been to the Corn Palace. It's not as cracked up as it.
But you're not 7, learning corn is real
I
for
was
the first
7
time in
when
your
I
life.
went,
But
and it
did
was
you-
not great.
What if it was made of cheese?
It would melt because South Dakota is hot in the summer.
What if the corn palace popped?
That would actually be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
But the Corn Palace is not that great. You go inside, it looks like a gym, like a high school gym. And then there's just a bunch of knickknacks that you can buy. That's it.
Like, why though?
The older I get, the more I appreciate corn.
Appreciate corn.
I appreciate
Why
it.
do you have an appreciation for corn?
I taste
'Cause it's
it.
corn.
Yeah,
What's your
just-
favorite kind of corn?
It's kind of grown on me. I like corn on the cob.
There's
Now, this is kind
different
of
kinds of corn.
yeah. I like fresh corn and I like sweet corn. But
I like white corn.
When Ashley and I got married, we would do this, or I grill it on the grill. But then you
really
take
like
all the
that.
corn
Really
off,
excited about
take
that.
it off the cob. And it's still,
Oh yeah.
it's good,
Yeah.
delicious, sweet
You
corn.
husk.
No. He's like
Yeah,
taking it off the.
Corn is in
you-
so many things that we just don't realize it.
I really like corn nuts, and I like cream corn,
Ugh,
and I like
you lost me.
Mexican corn.
Yeah.
Get that corn out of my face.
What is that called?
Cream corn.
Corn asada.
Corn asada. Oh my word. Are you talking about masa?
Corny.
No, what is it called?
Street corn?
Is it just called
No,
street
corn is where it's grilled. It's
No,
like-
street
Yeah, but then
corn
it has
is
the
like
what
the
does it have
cayenne
on
pepper on it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. Street
Yeah.
corn. Street corn.
And paprika and stuff on it.
Yes, it's not I just don't think it's
So,
paprika.
fun story about my friend Allison, who I don't think she would listen to this, but if she did, hey, kudos to Allison. She's allergic to corn, all things corn.
What?
And
Popcorn too?
her birthday is in May. And so what notorious holiday happens in May? Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yeah. I was like,
So
Memorial Day
the
weekend?
church I worked at before, Allison and I were on staff, and they would do birthday lunches every month. And so Allison's birthday being in May and Cinco de Mayo being in May, they would always do a Mexican-themed meal, which always had corn products. And so she was always like breaking out in hives at every staff lunch made in her honor
That is a terrible story.
because she
that's sad for her.
Yeah.
survived it.
She didn't survive it?
She survived it.
Oh,
She's
I
fine.
thought you said, and she didn't.
She is in
survive it.
Budapest right now playing her cello.
Oh, there you go.
But not James Madison's. So
Yep.
sorry, Allison.
It wasn't a
Throwback
magic
last week.
flute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cute videos. Got to go see it. Just 3 minutes. That's it, though. Now
corn.
we have an ice bucket update.
Yes.
I was excited about this.
Yeah, this was a very interesting little.
Ice bucket challenge update, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
It's cool.
Oh my
You just
gosh.
didn't do it.
What is
You
it
didn't
with our dad
participate.
jokes today?
Oh my gosh.
We were part of
think you got
the
it.
big movement.
Yes, we were.
Yeah,
So
I'm ignoring
if
it.
you were alive in 2014, you probably saw the millions of videos of people.
Also, if you're listening to this and you weren't alive in 2014, let us know.
Yeah,
That would make you very young.
Were you guys alive in 2014?
Just barely.
yeah. Oh, I was alive.
6, yeah.
I was
So
living.
alive that I was dumping ice water on myself. Anyways, so back in 2014, if you saw millions of videos of people dumping ice
Ice,
buckets on their heads for ALS. So essentially, the purpose of this was to raise awareness for ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's a very fatal disease. And so they're trying to get awareness, but also funding for just treatments and things and research and development for new drugs and such back in 2014. Well, here we are in 2020.
Well.
And, 2022. Oh my gosh. Time, where have you gone? Anyways, just when you thought pouring a bunch of ice water on your head wasn't doing anything, boy, was it. So here we are. This year, the ALS Association said that since then, they've raised $2.2 million in funds during that challenge.
That's
but
cool.
the cool thing is they finally they got approved by the FDA a drug that helps with the symptoms of ALS. So it doesn't necessarily cure ALS, but it definitely helps mitigate some of the bad symptoms of it, which is crazy awesome because considering it's such a neurological disease and it is very bad, that this whole wave of things back in 2014 actually did something, because there's many a times in the social media realm where we do these
Majority of times, maybe.
silly things
Right.
to raise awareness for things, but you never hear any after a month. You don't hear about it
It
ever
is
again.
nice to know that something good came out.
Like back in
It was worth
it
it.
2012 Coney? Do you remember that?
Yeah, Coney 2012.
Yeah.
That was it. Hashtag.
Yeah.
What was it?
So
I have no idea.
that was another social media push. It was
Was that
like an
about
African warlord that was
Yeah.
taking over certain towns and things in Africa.
What
But
was the
yeah.
gorilla's
I
name?
think it was with the kids.
Arambe?
Yeah, Harambe.
And they had
Also,
like a kid army or teenage army
Yeah.
or something like that.
And so, that one fell flat after, there was a lot of things wrong with that
Harambe
one.
was a real gorilla.
Yeah, I was.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the FDA approved this drug recently. And actually looking at this article, I missed this point. So they said that more than $115 million was raised from that trend. So that 2.2 was just in 2014.
Where does the money come from? Were you also supposed to give as part of your ice bucket challenge?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so you were supposed to give
Didn't
and then
do that
challenge.
Did you guys
Fire.
give as part of your ice bucket challenge?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So we really weren't part of the
No, we
solution.
weren't part of this.
My daughter made
I
us do
read
it.
Part of
rose
the
awareness.
entertainment.
She
though.
wanted to throw water on us. I think that was really the whole thing.
I've had a bad day, Dad.
Yeah.
Let's do the ice bucket challenge.
But this is just one step further in the eradication of ALS.
And the
so
dog was
that's,
sitting there.
that's
That's
great
awesome.
news.
It's okay.
That
We
really
need to
is
bring
cool.
back
It
some
is
type
really
of
cool.
challenge like that. A
Yeah.
social
Let's
media
start our
challenge.
own.
I know. I think that'd be awesome. Raise it for missions or, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's the deep dish.
All right, we're going to go on with a deep dish here.
Deep dish.
And the topic is quiet quitting. How many, when was the first time you heard of quiet quitting?
A couple weeks ago.
When this article was posted.
Okay, cool.
I had just seen it. I had just seen it about 5 days before.
Oh, really?
Is a different angle, but yeah, it was talking about.
So
the same
I have heard about quiet quitting for a while because I'm one of these weird people that there are certain like news channels that I follow and I consistently look at because I can't just watch TV news because it drives me nuts. And so there's just a couple of places where I go and quiet quitting has come up. Has been in their feeds now for a couple of months. And so I've kind of been...
Explain quiet quitting for the listeners.
From the NPR article, it's basically where you don't quit your job, but you make a decision of, I am not going to go above and beyond to do anything exceptional with the job, I guess, basically. Here's a couple of quotes from the article I had to pull out. And there are things I like about it. So I'll just say this up front. There are things that I like about this, but there are things I really don't like about it. So we'll unpack that. Here's one quote from the article. I recently learned about this term called quiet quitting, where you're not outright quitting your job, but you're quitting the idea of going above and beyond. Okay. And then it says you're still performing your duties, but you're no longer subscribing to the hustle culture mentality that work has to be done, has to be your life. The reality is it's not, and your worth as a person is not defined by your labor. So even within that paragraph, there's some good things, and there's some things like kind of like nails on the chalkboard. Quiet quitting, in other words, is not really about quitting. It's more like a philosophy for doing the bare minimum at your job. So like, you want to hire that person with that philosophy? Absolutely not. I would not share that as a part of your core values if you are interviewing for a job. Then this one's kind of funny. In Japan, there was a concept called
shokunin.
Shokunin. There you go. Yep. Which refers to the artisan who is deeply dedicated to their craft, always striving for perfection in what they make. Quiet quitting is like the opposite of that. And so it's oh man. So the question you have in your mind is, would you hire this person? Well, probably not. Now, I would say that every workplace has plenty of people who maybe this might be their secret motto, or maybe this is a part of their value of, I'm just going to do what I need to do for my job. But
I got news for you. If you're out there and you're one of those people that's quiet quitting and you think it's part of your secret motto, it's not a secret. Everyone around you can see it.
Yeah.
And the people you work for can see it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the good and the bad. Okay. Let's start with the good. I think the bad can be a little bit obvious, but what's good about what you read in this article, what you saw in this article?
I know that we don't all agree at this table, but I actually don't mind the concept of this to a certain degree. I think really what this is, it's not new. We've just actually put a name to something like we always do. It's so weird. But a couple weeks ago on our podcast, we talked about how, our culture is kind of shifting away from a non-believer's viewpoint when it comes to cohabitation. Yeah. And so in this sense, like I think that we're really quitting more of like the culture than we are. I think that's what's positive about this. Yeah. So I hate the phrase hustle culture. I cannot, anyways, this is really difficult for me because I like to go the extra mile. I personally work hard, but I also have struggled setting boundaries. Yeah. And after I got married, we realized like, hey, your work is coming home with you a lot. Yeah. And not that it doesn't need to, it can, but just constantly feeling like I need to be available. I'm a perfectionist. So I will push myself to very unhealthy limits because I don't have boundaries. And so this idea of I have to hustle if I want to have anything in this world is very annoying to me, and I don't like this boss babe movement either. Women are called to do so much more than just their job also, and I just think at the end of my life, I don't want to look back. And I don't think I will look back. And even those other women who are caught up in this culture will look back and be like, I'm so glad I was a boss babe. I think what's going to happen is that they're going to say, I regret having spent so much time chasing something to never be satisfied at the end, that I missed my kids growing up. I missed my parents passing away. I missed all these things in the timeline of my life. And so that's where I think it's positive that we are labeling, like, I'm quitting this culture of hustling, but there's negative with that as well.
Yeah, I think you well stated the other side of it, and it's like there's this balance. It's like two sides of a coin, and everything. So it's tough. So you're going to say something, David?
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting
I said
that
David that time.
He said David.
I find it interesting that it's the line is kind of drawn on what generation you grew up in, because for like you got your baby boomers and you got your, I guess you're is that Gen X? Is that what you want?
No, I'm not Gen X and I'm not millennial. I'm this funky like 10 or 12 years in between.
Yeah.
Because here's the way they define us. We were born into a world that didn't have technology the way modern technology is, but the technology came and we were still young enough that we could adapt to it.
Yeah.
And so we're in the middle.
You got Gen X, you got millennials,
Jones.
and then you got Zennials.
So
Zennial.
Gen Z. It seems like this is really popular in the younger Gen Z. And then for us in the millennials, it's like we kind of have a hybrid view of this because our parents grew up in that generation of you're working and you're working a lot and you're constantly working. Yep. And then, but we kind of hybrid into the fact that, we as younger folks see the experiences that we have outside of work more as our identity than our jobs. Yep. I'm trying to speak for a whole generation here, which is not necessarily true for everyone. But for me specifically, I find myself more on the opposite side than the pro for it, just because I understand and I get everything. Like I want to be the way that this article is saying of you're shutting off because you want to spend time with the people that you care about the most. But I personally have a hard time with that too. It's just because I have a hard time shutting off work. I'm constantly thinking about it. And, when I introduce myself, my first identity is what do I do? That's what is my job? And so that's if we're going to go into kind of more of a Christian outlook of this, that's definitely unhealthy. The fact that we are spending so much time working in and keeping our minds on work that we miss the fact that our identity is not in our jobs. Yeah. But that's just my millennial side of things.
That's good. You think about the different generations. So my parents are definitely boomer parents. Yep. They definitely are products that came out of World War II. And you think about their parents' generation that went through the Great Depression. I think that we're molded by our culture, and so you have a very poor culture. Can hardly pay the bills. They don't want that for their kids and everything. So I think you have a very hardworking culture coming out of that because they don't want that, and they want to push out of that. I think this generation's coming out of a season of great wealth, a lot of great things, but yet mom and dad weren't around as much. Yep. And so they saw the sacrifices and what that did to them. And so I don't think that either one's wrong. I'd really love what you had to say, Allie, in the fact that you don't want to do this to the detriment of your family. And we've probably all been guilty of that. And boundaries. My wife is good with boundaries, and she's good. Like whenever there's a decision to be made ministry-wise, I can get real excited about something. There's a ministry that we're praying about that we would love to add to this church. And I'm excited about it. And I'm patiently waiting for my wife, in my mind, to kind of catch up to speed to where I'm at. But the more we talk about it, I hear more of the wisdom. Maybe we don't do it this way. Maybe we need to do it this way so we don't overdo it and it crowds into our family life. So I think there's a balance. Can we be effective? Can we still desire excellence in what we do, but yet frame it within something that is fair for the family as well. So I commend both of them within that. So what was interesting about this is as we were deciding on these articles, I guess last week I was saying, I want to do this. Yesterday, again, two things happened yesterday. That testimony that we talked about at the last recording, and then this one, we got a recording. You guys, everyone had to do the cultural index, right? And so that's a part of the hiring process here at the church. Well, the guy who comes and does the training, he sent out an email, and it was exactly about quiet quitting. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And
It's like we were preordained to
talk about it.
talk about it.
So we do this cultural index. We take it before during the hiring process, and it's based on how we as people approach work. So it's not exactly a personality profile, but it kind of is. It takes your personality, how you approach your work in your role. And I know that at least in our department for discipleship, Jim, like he does everything by this. And his quote is, the CI don't lie, is what, and what this is saying here within the article that he sent us is that he thinks that quiet quitting has a lot to do with people not fitting well with their job. Their personalities and their jobs don't lend well together. And he said, in fact, personality correlates so tightly with jobs that it may affect job choices more than skills.
Wow.
Which is interesting, right? And so it's not just good to see what you're good at, but also your personality type and maybe fitting within that. And he says that about 12% of those in the workforce, or 11%, fit their jobs really well with their personality. So looking at your skills is important. Looking at your personality and how you approach that skill is important too. So that was just really cool. So that might be part of it as well, you know. So interesting article. So you have any thoughts, James?
I do.
He has lots of thoughts.
I do.
Patiently waiting over there.
So, obviously I'm the one who brought this up, and I've been reading this stuff for a while now. And so I absolutely love what Allie's talking about. What you're talking about is work-life balance, right? And that's super critical. It's super important.
Yep.
And you're right. So many people struggle with that. And everybody always says, you hear at funerals, oh, nobody's going to die, and say, man, I wish I'd have spent more time at work. The challenge that I have with the quiet quitting movement is just like anything else that's happened, is that we can't just call it work-life balance and leave it at that. It becomes this extremism. And this is where the struggle for me comes into it, is that I'm all about work-life balance. Like one of the things I absolutely do love, not talking because it's, review season, but one of the things I do love about here is we have leadership that's very passionate about the Sabbath and passionate about us being able to have that time to rest and relax. And, yes, depending on who you are and where you serve, sometimes there's demands that reach into that. But for the most part, we try really hard to protect that. And so, and that's a little different. But the problem that I have with it is that it's the philosophy of doing the bare minimum at your job. Right. And that's where this pendulum has swung too far. And there are too many people that are sitting at the workplace only going as far as only doing what they absolutely have to do to earn their paycheck and then go home for the day. And the problem is that's very detrimental to the work environment. And, I recently had a conversation with someone who used to work for me that, they're in a position where they're considering some things in their life. And I just literally asked, I said, okay, time for the brass tacks talk. Why did you quit? And the reason they quit, one of the reasons they quit was because there were people on the team that he worked on that were essentially they were quiet quitters. They only did the bare minimum that they had to do for their job. And so with this person's nature of being the person that goes above and beyond, they didn't want to let balls drop. So they were constantly giving more. And they felt like they were surrounded by a team of people that were only doing what was minimum required. And it burned them out. They couldn't handle it. They began to have animosity and strive towards the people they worked with, kind of a thing. And I'm inserting that because it's an obvious statement. But the fact is, when you have a group of people that are only doing what they have to do to get by, then that's not fair to the rest of the team who is going above and beyond. Now, I'm not talking about taking work home and working all throughout the weekend. I think that's too far. That's too far the other direction, right? Like that pendulum really needs to sit in the middle. And I think that's where my challenge with the whole quiet quitting thing comes in, is that if it was just about work-life balance and making sure people were happy and healthy, I would be all over it, because I totally believe in that. I'm not in favor of I'm just going to come in, do what I have to do, then sit and get into the scroll because my work's done and earn my paycheck and then go home. It's like, no, I mean, that for us, that's not even, that's against our staff covenant, and so that's where I think the challenge is like this whole work-life balance thing became a huge thing a few years ago. And then we had the pandemic where so many people were either working from home and they loved it. And then it's like, okay, the world's kind of returned to normal, but they kind of got used to just being at home and not having to do as much and not having to and so it's almost like there's this negative tint to it that came out of the pandemic, and we swung that pendulum just a little too far, in my opinion. And so,
yeah, I think finding that happy balance is
it's all about the balance.
And for me, I think, and this goes with my personality, even though I'm driven, I'm not very detailed oriented. And so is there time in my day that could be more efficient? Absolutely. Like that's probably my biggest thing is going from one thing to another. And so finding ways for me to be efficient, that's what I want to do. I love, like at this job that I have here, I only have one main task, overseeing the adult discipleship. And when I was a church planter, I was everything. I was the secretary. I was, I set up the chairs. I was the first one there, the last one to leave. So it was hard. That's the hardest work I've ever done. And I can specialize here and focus on my task. Mm-hmm. And so it's still hard work, but I'm able to be laser focused on it. And I love that. And it's like I have a life now and I want to protect it. Like I want to have a day off. I want to be able to enjoy family. I want to be able to go mountain biking. But so it's only a few phrases in here. If quiet quitting really does mean doing the bare minimum, man, I just don't think I could do it. That wouldn't be inspiring. I got to have a job that grips me and that makes me want to work and something, that's important. And so I think that's just where it grates against my personality. But I think most people, when they say that they're quiet quitting, I'm hoping that they're not meaning that they want to do the bare minimum. I think kind of like what you're talking about, Allie, you're talking about, I want to protect my family. I want to protect my marriage. I want to make sure that my work is not robbing me of what God's really called me to be and to do, and that is to be a wife, maybe one day, Lord willing, a mom, all those other things, right? And so I think that's the good part that I see within this movement of family is important, and I think we've lacked that for so long.
I even think that there's this weird middle ground, and this is so not my personality. I think personality is the biggest factor in this, but as frustrating as it would be to me, because I was always the kid who did the group project, but if I have somebody who's dependable who comes in, I know that they're efficient the full time they're here. Yeah, I know they're not going to go the extra mile, but they're going to do the job that they've been assigned to do. I mean, is there anything truly immoral about that?
Unless it depends on the job. Some jobs require people to go the extra mile. If you're kind of the last one, it's like you're responsible for that area, then you got to expect sometimes you got to come in over the weekend. You're kind of overseeing,
it's what they call the penalty of leadership, right? Like that cliche.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they're not in leadership. I mean, that's the thing is that's what I really struggle with is this concept of, if it truly is bare minimum, that's totally different to me. But if it's I'm literally going to come in and do what I'm expected to do, paid to do, I will be efficient. You can depend on me. Yeah. But I'm not going to give you any more than what I give you during work hours. And maybe it's not even to protect family. It's just that I think it could be seen as complacency, but maybe it's not even complacency. It's hey, I'm not interested in moving up the ladder. I'm content. Yeah. And so is there a burden with contentment when it comes to workforce?
So. My father-in-law, he's the godliest man I know. And when Ashley and I first got married, he was offered a promotion and he decided not to take it. And I came from a family where career is important, and I was really proud of what my dad did. And I was just floored. I was like, totally different values that he had. He loved to fish. He just enjoyed life. He enjoyed ministry. He enjoyed his church and his family. Great dad. And he turned it down. He goes, I didn't want the stress. I like where I'm at, and I was like, wow, great. Great admiration. At first I was shocked, and after a while I was like, wow, that's cool.
Maybe this is too long of a discussion for a question like this, but I'm still going to ask it. Where does that line draw between job and ministry?
Yeah.
Because for us, we have a unique job because our job is our ministry. So that's the line I've had to find a lot, because it's like, since we work for a church, your goal is to expand the gospel. Like, that is your goal.
And it's a very people-oriented job.
And so anytime that you are hindering that goal, that vision, then that's the part where I find hard.
And my answer
to
to you on that is, when it's affecting your family, when it's affecting your marriage, then it is negatively impacting other people. And you're not going to be as happy at your work, and you're not going to be giving your best. And so I think that's where that balance and that conversation has to always happen with your spouse, and making sure you're on the same page. You know, there's some spouses, like when I watch Pastor Wes and Lisa, I'm always amazed at what they do. I think they do go above and beyond. I can't imagine them. He couldn't do his job 40 hours a week. I don't even think he can do his job 50 hours a week. But they are so in tune, and they're both called into this, and therefore it doesn't create that tension or that stress or anything. Right. And it's like, it's beautiful to see that partnership. But that's not all of us. And we have different boundaries and different roles and different seasons of life as well. Different seasons. Our kids are out of the house now, so we have more time. And so you guys are on the early end of your marriage, and so different set of requirements. So,
and my thing is, like, us working for a church is totally different than a secular job, because what we're called to do, yes, not to detriment our family and things, but is it not biblical, but just this idea of ministry? Is it bad for us to apply this concept?
No, I don't think so.
Because, like, then to the point where you're not necessarily detrimenting your family. I'm talking about, like, during the work hour, you are only doing what is necessary.
Right. Yeah. Well, to me, yeah, maybe there's an element of that. That's the piece where I struggle with. It's like, I need to find out how to excel in what I do and be good at what I do in an allotment that's not going to rob my family. And, like, you hear of, I'm not going to name the name of missionaries of our history, where they are highlighted as icons of, but yet they totally neglected their family, and it hurt their family. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, that doesn't honor God to me. That doesn't honor God to me. And we may hold this person up because of the great sacrifices, but I just think about what that did to their family, did just the opposite of. And so, and I've been around missionary kids long enough to know the sacrifices that a family makes.
Yeah.
And so it just breaks my heart. And I don't think God's honored with that. I'm not going to save the world. No pastor's going to be the solution. You know, God's big enough to raise up other people to where we're not the savior, in other words.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's got to be a balance in that.
Alan, there is a savior, and his name is Jesus.
Yeah. He's the one. We are not it.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
To talk like what you're talking about, David, too, is it does go back to the legitimacy of work-life balance.
Yeah.
You know, and making sure you have that. And so if you're talking about applying that principle as of work-life balance to what we do in ministry, absolutely. If you're applying it to when I'm here, I'm only going to do the bare minimum, I don't think is right. That doesn't represent and value Christ.
And the reason why I asked that question is an easy pushback from the other side is that most people will say you're working for Jesus, not your employer.
Right. And do everything as unto the Lord.
But that can be overdone too. Like you're using that as an excuse to make someone work harder.
Oh yeah.
But
unless you leave your father and mother and your family,
I'm not saying like,
then you can't follow me. That would be a verse that would be used.
Yeah. I'm fighting against using almost like proof texting of the people using it as a like guilt trip into making you do more work.
Yeah.
And so it's important for us not to
And
use
if you're
that
in
as
ministry and you have someone on your staff or a pastor telling you, you know what, you work as unto the Lord, so all 7 days a week you should be working.
Yeah,
You need to find a new
another
place
job.
to work.
find a
Like,
new job.
you 100% need to find a new place to work, because that is unbiblical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is against it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like what you were talking about with Wes and Lisa and the CI. A lot of it does have to do with, are you cut out for the job you're doing?
Yeah.
Is this the job that is for you?
Yeah.
Like, is this the job that is what you're there for? Like right now, my role is I'm a problem solver. I'm essentially like, I have a oddball title, because what do you call a title like that, right? But I am dropped in any situation where there's difficulty or trouble or something that needs to find a solution. And so that is literally my life.
The solution.
I am the solutionator. And so, it's like right now it's a particularly stressful time because there's a lot of things I'm fixing, right? And so and I can't seem to get one thing done and off my plate before another thing's added. But yet somehow or another, I'm still coming to work every day.
Right.
Well, if that was another person, and I don't have an example. I'm just saying, if it was someone else, the number of difficulties that I'm facing, the challenges I'm facing, and they're not like personal difficulties, they're literal things I need to fix. That might make them want to quit.
Right.
And that might make them want to be like, you know what, I'm done. Yeah. But because that's how I'm wired, it's not that for me, And so I think that goes back to like you were saying with the CI. Are you in a position that fits who you are and fits your personality and fits the way you're wired? And if you're not, that's where some of this tension comes in of, well, I only want to do what's the bare minimum. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, you need to find a job that you're invested in, that you're passionate about.
And I think also, like in your case, I would like, my advice to you is like, it's okay for right now, but if this is like a 2-year thing or a 1-year thing, or if this is a long-term thing, it's not healthy. It would not be healthy for you to have to take your work home all the time. And you know what I mean? It's like, for seasons of time, we may feel that, but if it never wanes and there's not a slowdown, then you got to rethink your approach to your job, or you may have to go to your boss and help rethink, or find another job.
I just got to work harder.
So
right?
There you go. Yeah. Figure it out. So anyways, good stuff. I think we could talk forever about this, but quiet quitting, interesting conversations to have. And now you know what, if you're old like me, you know what it is, and you can talk to your kids about it and the health of
one
a
more
healthy
thing
work life.
that I learned from this article, the word zeitgeist.
Yeah, the zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist.
That's a great word.
I didn't know what the word zeitgeist meant, and I had to look it up.
It's
and
like a meta.
The defining spirit or mood of a particular period of history.
Yeah.
Nice.
Zeitgeist.
Okay.
Zeitgeist
Word of
is
the
a
day.
great word.
Word of the day.
Zeitgeist.
I
Word
love
of the
that
day.
word.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our topics for the day. And please, we encourage you to share this with other people, like our stuff, and share it with others. And we'll see you next week.
And subscribe.
And share.
Yeah.
And comment.
Yeah. And do all the things. Okay, bye.